Welcome. In this session, I'm going to discuss about the peripheral nervous system. In short, we call it PNS. Now, this peripheral nervous system, it includes all the nerves arising from central nervous system, constitute this peripheral nervous system. So now, the central nervous system, we know it consists of brain and spinal cord. So it consists of brain and spinal cord. Here, the nerves that arise from the brain are all called cranial nerves, and the nerves that arise from the spinal cord are called spinal nerves. So there are 12 pairs of cranial nerves and 31 pairs of spinal nerves. So later I'll give the list of those cranial and spinal nerves. Now coming here, the peripheral nervous system is divided into two divisions. One, it is called autonomic nervous system, and another one called somatic nervous system. This autonomic nervous system will send impulses from central nervous system to involuntary organs, sends information to involuntary organs, whereas the somatic nervous system sends impulses from central nervous system to skeletal muscles. And this autonomic nervous system has two more divisions under this. One, it's called parasympathetic nervous system, and another one called sympathetic nervous system. So here, parasympathetic nervous system will function in non-emergency situation. So it comes into action in non-emergency situations, whereas sympathetic nervous system comes into action in emergency situations, comes into action in emergency situations. Okay, so right here, the parasympathetic nervous system, we can also call it rest and digest system. So this will take place during resting conditions, so hence it is a rest and digest system, whereas the sympathetic, as I told, in emergency situations. So this we can call it fight and flight system. So this autonomic nervous system, we have one more name for this. You can call it the visceral nervous system. So visceral nervous system is another name for this autonomic nervous system. So under this visceral nervous system, so what it all includes, it includes complex of nerves. So it includes complex of nerves, then it includes the fibers, then it includes the ganglia and plexus. So plexus are network of these fibers, nerve fibers. So plexus is a network of nerve fibers, is a network of nerve fibers. And coming to ganglia, So ganglia is a plural word, so I'll take ganglion. So ganglion is a singular word, and what does the meaning of ganglion? So this is a mass of nervous tissue. There is a mass of nervous tissue, composed principally of neuron cell bodies. Okay, so consists of neuron cell bodies. So only those neuron cell bodies, okay, which constitute a mass of that nervous tissue, okay, and present outside the brain or spinal cord. So present outside the brain or spinal cord. So if it is the case, then that is called a ganglion. So later we'll see one example of that dorsal root ganglion, which is not present in the spinal cord, but it lies outside the spinal cord. So the meaning of ganglion is a mass of nervous tissue that mainly consists of neuron cell bodies. Now let us see structure of a peripheral nerve fiber. So let's see TS of a nerve fiber. So the nerve fiber will consist of axons, many axons. So let's see here. Okay, so here uh, these are axons in transverse section. So we have axons in transverse section, and each of these axons are covered by a connective tissue, and it is called, right, endoneurium. See, is covered by a connective tissue. So you can see here it's connected by a connective tissue, and this is the endoneurium. So just like how we have seen in case of a muscle, right? So here also we will see in the similar way. So this is axon, and the one that is covering it is called endoneurium. Okay, now all these axons that are covered by endoneurium, now they are covered by, okay, and another connective tissue, and that makes it a fascicle, and this is called perineurium. And say suppose one more structure, one more, okay, fascicle we have here. Okay, so axons and they are covered by endoneurium, and covered by perineurium. Okay, now this is a nerve fascicle. It's a nerve fascicle. Okay, so here this is also another nerve fascicle. Now these two are covered by another connective tissue. Okay, so this is called the epineurium. Okay, so then a whole right nerve is covered by right epineurium, and then individual, okay, nerve fibers are actually covered by right, endoneurium, and those the fascicles are covered by perineurium. Here, I think instead of nerve fiber, I'll just take nerve. So this is the structure of in the transverse section of a nerve. So axons, which are covered by connective tissue. So this is a connective tissue that covers the axons, and perineurium is also a connective tissue, and epineurium is also a connective tissue. Okay, right. Now let us see the list of all the cranial nerves. So as I said that the total number of cranial nerves are 12 pairs. So let's see here, each one. The first one is a olfactory nerve. So this olfactory nerve is a sensory nerve, so which takes up the impulses from the sensory epithelium to the brain. So the second one is optic nerve. So this optic nerve is also sensory in function. And then third one is oculomotor nerve. The oculomotor nerve is motor in its function. Then fourth one is a trochlear nerve. Is a trochlear nerve, also called pathetic nerve, and this is also motor in its function. So the fifth one is trigeminal nerve. So this trigeminal nerve is a mixed nerve. So here the meaning of mixed nerve, which means it has both sensory and motor functions. So it has both sensory and motor functions, and if it is the case, then we need to call it a mixed nerve. So trigeminal nerve is a mixed nerve. The next one is abducens nerve. So this abducens nerve is a motor nerve. Then facial nerve. So the facial nerve is a mixed nerve. Then eighth one is vestibulocochlear nerve. It's called vestibulocochlear nerve. In simple, you can call it auditory nerve. So this auditory nerve is a sensory in function. The next one is the ninth one, called glossopharyngeal nerve. So this glossopharyngeal nerve is a mixed nerve. Okay, and coming to the 10th one is vagus nerve. The 10th one is the vagus nerve, and next, of course, this vagus nerve is also mixed nerve. Then 11th one is spinal accessory nerve. Spinal accessory nerve. So this spinal accessory nerve is a motor nerve, and the last one is hypoglossal nerve. So this hypoglossal nerve is again a motor nerve. Now let us see a few connections of these nerves. Okay, so this olfactory nerve is connected to the olfactory epithelium in the nose. Okay, and the optic nerve is connected to retina of eye. So later we'll see in detail the structure of eye. Then oculomotor is connected to some, okay, those muscles of eye, then even the ciliary muscles and to iris. Then coming to trochlear, so it is connected to superior oblique muscles of eye, so which help in the movement of eye. Then coming to this trigeminal, so as it has both sensory and motor functions, so just we will see a sensory and motor. Okay, so it is connected to, okay, lacrimal glands, so which produce tears. Lacrimal glands produce tears, then connected to eyelids, okay, lips, etc. Then coming to the motor part, so it is also connected to lacrimal glands. So lacrimal glands get both motor and okay, sensory nerves, and then it is connected to the muscles of lower jaw, muscles of lower jaw, okay, and to submaxillary and sublingual salivary glands, to submaxillary and sublingual salivary glands. Then coming to abducens, this is connected to lateral rectus of, okay, these lateral rectuses are muscles, okay, one pair of muscles that connect to eye. So lateral rectus muscles, okay, of eye. So later when we discuss about the eye, we'll see about all the muscles that are connected to eye. The next one, coming to this facial nerve, okay, this facial nerve also has both sensory and motor functions. So I'll just list out. So there's it is connected to taste buds, okay, and then to palate, okay, and connected to hyoid, okay, and it is also connected to submandibular salivary glands. Coming to vestibulocochlear nerve, so that is also called auditory nerve. This is supplied to the cochlea and vestibule, cochlea and vestibule of ear, right? So the next one, glossopharyngeal. So this glossopharyngeal nerve is supplied to, okay, so we know that this is a mixed nerve. This consists of both the motor and sensory functions. So it is supplied to this taste buds, okay, pharynx, then the sublingual and, okay, submaxillary salivary glands, submaxillary salivary glands. The next one, right, so this is the ninth cranial nerve, and then, okay, so the 10th one is the vagus nerve. So this is also a mixed nerve, and this is supplied to lungs, heart, esophagus, okay, stomach and intestine. The next one, 11th one, is spinal accessory nerve. So this is a motor nerve, and this is supplied to pharynx, then larynx, neck and shoulder. The last one is a hypoglossal, and this hypoglossal nerve is also a motor nerve, and this is supplied to tongue, and of course right, helps in food manipulation, and also help in swallowing. So this is about all the 12 cranial nerves which will be present in pairs. Next we will see about spinal nerves. So the total number of spinal nerves are 31 pairs. So out of that 31 pairs, the cervical nerves, means the nerves that arise at cervical region, are 8 pairs, and then the next one are the thoracic nerves. So these are 12 pairs, and third one, it is lumbar nerves. So these lumbar nerves are 5 pairs, and then the next one are sacral nerves. These are total 5 pairs, and the next one are coccygeal nerves. So these will be 1 pair. So that total around 31 pairs of spinal nerves. Out of these spinal nerves, the sciatic nerve, this sciatic nerve is largest and longest nerve in human body, and it is supplied to lower limbs. And this sciatic nerve is formed by a combination of 5 nerves, from lumbar and sacral regions. So those we can take the lumbar as a L4 and L5. So that stands for uh, the fourth region, that is fourth nerve from the lumbar region, and fifth nerve from the lumbar region, and from the sacral region, S1, that is okay, the first nerve from the sacral region, S2, and S3. So these nerves will be supplied to lower body including limbs. Whereas coming to cranial nerves, among cranial nerves, uh, we have the largest, okay, so in terms of size, is trigeminal nerve, and the smallest in terms of size, it will be trochlear nerve. And coming to the longest, so this will be in terms of length, this is the vagus nerve, and the shortest in terms of length, it is olfactory. Right, so that's about the cranial and spinal nerves. Now we shall see about reflexes. So let's say about reflexes. So what is a reflex? So reflex is an involuntary response to a stimulus. So it's an involuntary response to a stimulus, or we can call in simple an involuntary action. An involuntary action. Now these reflexes are of two types: those that are under control of brain and those that are under the control of spinal cord. So those that are under the control of brain are called cranial reflexes. They are called cranial reflexes, and those are under the reflexes that are under the control of spinal cord. They are called spinal reflexes. Now let's see some examples of these cranial reflexes. So under the cranial reflexes, like the control of rate of heartbeat, then even with breathing, and then coughing, then closing of eyes on approach of object, and then sneezing, etc. are some examples of cranial reflexes. Coming to spinal reflexes, examples: the knee jerk reflex. So this is also called the patellar reflex. So this is also called a patellar reflex, right? So patellar reflex. And then withdrawal of a hand from hot object, withdrawal of hand from hot object, then urination, then defecation, then ejaculatory reflex. So this is the expulsion of semen. Some examples of spinal reflexes. So now we'll especially study the spinal reflex, and that too we'll study about knee jerk reflex in detail. So let's say about knee jerk reflex, which is also called the patellar reflex. So patellar reflex. Right. So this knee jerk reflex or patellar reflex is an monosynaptic uh, reflex. It's an example for monosynaptic reflex. So let's see here the spinal cord in transverse section. Okay, so right, and we have here the gray matter in head shape. Okay, so this is the white matter and this is gray matter. Okay, and this side of it is the posterior or dorsal side, posterior or dorsal side, and opposite is anterior or ventral side, anterior or ventral side. Okay, and arising from the dorsal side, we have is an afferent pathway. So here we have is an afferent pathway. Okay, and the nerve, that is sensory nerve, that carries the information. Okay, so here it is. This is the afferent nerve. This is afferent nerve. So we know that afferent nerve is also called the sensory nerve. So this is sensory nerve. Okay, and this is the efferent nerve. Is efferent nerve, and efferent nerve is also called the motor nerve. So this is efferent nerve, and this is the motor nerve. Okay, and here these two nerves come in contact in the spinal cord. So you can see here, so they come in contact in the spinal cord, right? So this is how we see the knee jerk reflex. And here we have dorsal root ganglion. So this is dorsal root ganglion, and here, okay, this is, as I said, afferent nerve. It is connected to the motor, I'm sorry, the muscle spindle is connected to muscle spindle. So this muscle spindle is a receptor. It is a receptor. And coming to these two pathways, they are connected to, so these two pathways are connected to the effector muscle. So these are two connected to effector muscle. Now hitting with a rubber hammer just below the patellar region. So you'll see with a rubber hammer, okay, just below patellar region, or just below the patella. So this will be the stimulus. So this is stimulus, and that is received by the muscle spindle, and then it sends this information through this afferent nerve, that is the sensory nerve. So right, so here is the transmission of that impulse. So you can see here, and here we have an neuron. So this is a interneuron. This is called interneuron, okay, also called association neuron. So this neuron or association neuron, it connects the sensory neuron with the motor neuron, okay. And once this impulse receive it to this spinal cord, of course from here it will not reach brain. So these in spinal reflexes, information doesn't reach brain. Okay, so from here, from the afferent nerves, the information will pass onto the efferent nerves, that is motor nerves. So you can see here the information is passing on these efferent nerves, that is motor nerves, and finally the information reaches to the effector muscle where it shows a jerky movement. So this results, so once the information comes to the effector muscles, okay, the result is a jerky movement. So a jerky movement is seen in the lower limb. Now, whatever the path followed by the impulse in this reflex arc is, in this reflex is called a reflex arc. So here, what is a reflex arc? The reflex arc is path followed by nerve impulse. Path followed by nerve impulse in a reflex action. So that is called the reflex arc. So now let us see, so what is that path followed in this reflex action. So that is reflex arc here. So here path of, say, path of nerve impulse in knee jerk reflex. Right, so from the spindle, muscle spindle, so that will be the receptor, we need to start with it. So muscle spindle, okay, then to the sensory nerves or afferent nerves, and from the sensory nerves the information is passed, okay, to interneurons. So of course through the dorsal root of ganglion. So through the dorsal root of ganglion, right, it reaches to interneuron. Okay, I will write it again. Right, so here let's see the, I'll start with the stimulus. From stimulus the information is received by the muscle spindle. So this is the receptor, and from the muscle spindle the information is passed to the afferent nerve. Also I call it the sensory nerve, and from the sensory nerve the information is reached to interneuron. Okay, and from the interneuron the information is now passed on to the motor neuron or efferent nerve. So efferent nerve or motor nerve. So from this efferent nerve or motor nerve the information finally reaches to the effector organ. So the effector organ, okay, will be the skeletal muscle in the limb. So this is the reflex arc. So this is the reflex arc in, okay, knee jerk reflex, in knee jerk reflex. Right, so that's it about the reflex action and even reflex arc. In the next session we shall see about sensory organs, the eye and ear.